This is Michael Woodward, and this is Season 2, Episode 97 of the Jumblethink Podcast.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Jumblethink Podcast, where we interview amazing entrepreneurs about their journey of turning dreams and ideas into reality. Along the way, they'll share some tips on how you can turn your own dreams and ideas into reality too. Today on the podcast, our guests are Sam and Charles Ryans, founders of Floxy. If you're new to the Jumblethink Podcast or have been listening to the podcast for a while and haven't subscribed, swing on over to wherever you like to listen to podcasts and subscribe to the Jumblethink Podcast. For iTunes or Apple Podcasts, go to jumblethink.com/iTunes, and for Spotify, jumblethink.com/Spotify. It will take you right to the app, right where you can click subscribe. Now let's jump into today's episode. Hey there, welcome to the Jumblethink Podcast. My name is Michael Woodward. I am your host. We have a killer episode lined up for you today. Before we get rolling, I want to welcome you into 2019. This is our first episode of 2019, and we're getting ready for Season 3 starting in February. Exciting things going on at Jumblethink. I hope there's exciting things going on wherever you're at. One of the exciting things going on at Jumblethink is our new idea camps coming at you in October. We're going to be launching a great giveaway this Friday. We want you to be a part of it. So swing on over to jumblethink.com/ideacamps. Sign up for the newsletter. Learn more about that giveaway. We're giving away a ticket to Idea Camps along with a whole bunch of other great stuff. So you're not going to want to miss that. We also want to take a moment and pause and thank our sponsor for today's episode, OpportunityInChina.com. Here's a little bit more about them.
At the dawn of the 19th century, forward-thinking people moved to the commercial centers of Europe. Moving into the 20th century, America welcomed millions into the land of freedom and opportunity. It is now the 21st century. Many of the successes and fortunes of our generations will be made in China. To learn how you can seize opportunity in China, follow the Opportunity in China podcast. The Opportunity in China podcast is available anywhere podcasts are streamed, or you can visit our website at opportunityinchina.com.
Our guests today are Sam and Charles Ryan. They are creating a really cool company called Floxy. I've been getting to know them the last couple of weeks, and I'm excited to let you get to know them too today on today's episode. So, Sam and Charles, thanks so much for being on with us today.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having us. My name's Sam, and
this is Charles here. Great to be here, Mike. Excited about interviewing with you and having a great conversation.
Very cool. Okay, so Floxy, cool name, but a lot of people, it's an under the radar, unless you know or specifically looking for this type of business, a lot of people aren't going to know the name. So tell us a little bit about Floxy, what you guys are doing, and just, how you serve the world through your business.
Okay, this is Sam, and I'll take it off. So basically, we came up with the name. Flock is a term for a team of developers that work together. And Floxy helps connect small businesses and businesses in general with a team of developers, designers, and copywriters. We like the name Floxy. It did everything that we do. Can I do that again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry. I haven't done a podcast in 12 months. Okay.
No problem.
So, the name Floxy came from my brother George, who is one of the co-founders, came up with the name. And we decided on it because flock is a term for a small group of developers that work together. Okay. And that helps. So what we provide is unlimited graphic design, web development, copywriting, and it's for one fixed monthly payment. So what we do is businesses sign up and they can get a team of developers, writers, pretty much anything they need for their company done. And so that's kind of what it came up with.
And to inject here, Charles here, I think the name is really focused on what our vision was, which was kind of cool from the start. And we really wanted, instead of offering people one-off persons, such as other sites do, where you have you can have one person you work with here and you connect. We really wanted to focus on providing a whole team to them, actually. so that when they signed up, they're not only limited in any area possible, but they're connecting entire teams with their business for different areas. And as we grow with other services and stuff, we also want to divide these same teams.
Super cool. Okay, so let me make sure that I'm tracking with what you're saying, because I think I understand. So as a company, Floxy is a monthly service where people can join and have a resource of web developers, designers for all kinds of graphic design, web design, copywriters, basically a team of creatives to help them on the journey of creating the digital and print worthy content that they need for marketing or telling their story or just getting their business out there.
That's exactly right. And it might help if I give you a little bit of the backstory about me and where I came from, because I was the one that like had the idea of Floxy when I was in college, and this was 3 years ago. So basically, when I was about 18, I started working with my brother George, who owned a company, Hatchwise, which does logo contests. And I had no idea how to code or anything. So I picked up a book at, I think it was Barnes & Noble, and it was PHP 6 something. Yeah. And I learned how to code PHP and began coding for the website and stuff. And that quickly grew into me managing a team. And by the time I was 20, I was managing a team of freelancers and stuff, and working on the site, and pretty much CTO and doing all that. I then went to college and continued working with Hatchwise. It was in my third year of college, I realized how difficult it is to find a full-time designer or developer or writer or anybody that you can pay an affordable rate and get quality work. Sometimes you hire somebody, it's amazing the first month, and then it kind of goes downhill. So I set out to try finding a way to do that. So I came up with Floxy.
Oh, cool.
And in the beginning, it was totally different. When I launched it in 2015, it basically was a bunch of packages on the site that you could buy. So for $200, you could buy a website, a full website that somebody would build you, and we were the middleman. That did not take off, so we pivoted in 2016 and began the unlimited graphic design. And our main focus at that time was just getting quality work done fast and reliable. And so then we made it so that you can sign up, you get graphic design, web development, copywriting, and it's all for one set monthly payment. And it's pretty much a team that's working with you. And with our software, you know you'll get it on time and it'll be done correctly, which were two of the biggest problems I had with working with freelancers.
Yeah, well, that's really, really powerful. You are creating something really cool. There are other companies that do elements of what you do. I know of a bunch of companies that are on-demand graphic design for a monthly fee. I know others who are white label agencies to do web development. You're a hybrid where you're creating so many different assets, different content types for different outlets, web versus print versus copy for whatever you need. Tell us a little bit about navigating that, because I see that as a benefit and can be difficult to navigate both of those at the same time.
Okay, this is Sam again. I'll take that one. So that was a challenge. And what I focused on is I'm a web developer. And I'm also incredibly good at figuring out how to make something that's complicated, simplified. Yeah. So I was like, how can I make it so we can do any service and streamline it within software? So what other services do is they connect you with a designer, maybe a developer, whoever, and you work one-on-one. And that's how things were done in the past. And it's a good way for a lot of businesses. But like I said, I saw a bunch of issues with that, with the performance going down. It's a designer, not a web developer, so you only get one thing. So I focused on the software, and I spent like 6 months making it so it's streamlined so that we can do any service and the software makes it happen. So we could add video servicing at this point, and they could have a whole team. And it's the internal software that makes it it assigns specific designers that are good at infographics, let's say, but somebody else might be good at designing a website. So the system will assign them. So I guess that's the answer to the question. It's mainly the website that allows us to grow into any service and not get overwhelmed.
Wow. So basically, what you've done is you've built a really cool platform that enables you to manage the projects in a very unique way. Because I haven't heard many companies doing it that way. It's really cool to hear that spin on it. So if somebody coming in is talking about, hey, I think I might want to use your services, what's that experience like for them? What is that process of, hey, I'm coming in, I think Floxy could be the right solution for my small business or whatever I'm running, my startup. What's their experience like when they join through maybe the completion of their first project?
So I can take that, Charles, here. And it's quite interesting actually seeing the experience because we do have different audiences that use us. You do see it through different eyes of different people, everyone from bigger businesses to people who don't even have a logo yet and they're starting out with their branding, basically. And we do that from the ground up. We maintain bigger businesses, so it's really back and forth in that regard. And one of the interesting things we realized is, in which I love myself personally, is when someone signs up, they're usually blown away by what we offer. They're usually very surprised by it, like floored. And it's always a shock for them. There's a lot of questions usually. It's how does this fit into this fit into this? So one of the things we've done when they sign up is to have an onboarding call where one of the team members call them and they walk them through all the questions. They walk them through everything, explain tips, explain perks. And we also encourage them to like jump right in right away, actually like get involved with the system, have an experience with it, which generates those questions and other questions too. And it's really cool, the response we usually get. And it's a very upbeat, usually more of a shock, excited way for their business. You see other entrepreneurs out there actually looking for ways to make their business grow. And when they find us, they view that as their source of furthering their business. And I think to us, it comes across that way too, which is kind of cool.
That's really, really cool. All right. So,
yes.
Yeah.
1 second. If I can just jump in and go along with what Charles said, it's like I remember one person that signed up and they were chatting with somebody on chat, one of the support, and I read over what they said, and they just couldn't believe what we offered. And then they signed up, and they started a project right away and got a call from their PM. But I talked to them later on. They were having a few issues with their account. They weren't quite sure how to upgrade and stuff, so they called, and I picked up the phone. But they were just, it was amazing to hear somebody like that had nothing, and they fully formed their company. It was satisfying. Like it was helping people out. And they said they got a logo with us. They built a website. They were getting some ads done. And they were just like, I didn't know a service like yours existed. And I guess it's just exciting because I'm still young and stuff and the website and I started it and now it's affecting people's lives. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really cool, which I think really helps me ask this next question because you already started to answer it. How are you finding purpose in what you guys are creating?
So I can answer that, kind of following up on what I was saying before. So I think a great story I can tell that answers that directly is one of the things that I still like to do as we grow, and I've aggressively done, is I like to take sales calls still. And I have my number, my cell, hooked up to the personal line still on the thing. And I try to take as many as possible and talk to people. And one of the cool factors is I don't think there's much better way to learn out there currently than hearing someone's questions or straight up thoughts about it or complaints firsthand from actually someone that you can just ask real questions to another entrepreneur like you. And I was talking to this lady the other day and we were chatting and she was so excited about finding us. I think it was one of the most excited calls I've had in months. And she's like going on and she's so excited. And she, at the end of it, she's like, I'm going to tell you what, she's like, Foxy's my new boyfriend.
Wow.
And I didn't know what to think for a second. I was like, well, I think that's a first. Like, you've officially said something I've never heard before.
I didn't know.
Yes, I mean, share that with Sam. But it was just pretty funny to hear like someone's take on it, being so excited that they found us. Like, oh, this is, and for me personally, that brings a lot of fulfillment, being able to like help other people because we struggle in other areas of our company that we can't do what we do internally. And we reach out to other services. And to us, it's the same experience when we find a great business. We're like, this is going to be a great fit for us. We're able to further our business, go forward this way. And I really find fulfillment. I love that about just helping other entrepreneurs out and actually like doing good, I guess, in that sense.
All right. So you mentioned there that you have some challenges maybe share a couple of those challenges or one of those challenges you're currently working to overcome in the business.
Let's see. So one of those would be scaling up and finding, we have an internal dev team and stuff, but we don't provide back-end coding at this time. So
Okay.
we don't like actually build a whole website up. So, and our system doesn't allow it how it currently is. So we had to find a back-end development team, and that was a lot of trial and error and going back and forth with different teams and stuff. And then we found this one team, and they were amazing. And it was friendly support. We could call them anytime, got things done fast. So that was one of the big issues. What would be another issue?
Charles here, Mike. Yeah, to go along with that, I guess one of the challenges in web development in regards as a whole is what Sam's saying. One of our concerns with backend coding is the two are very closely related, obviously.
Right.
And we can't offer that complete service. So a lot of times we'll be working on something and we'll run into something and be like, okay, we don't really offer this and it's not set up to offer, so we can't really help you in regards to that. We do want to. And in some cases, we do have a team in place that can do some back-end coding in different aspects of it. In those cases, we do help out where we can. But that's definitely been one of our biggest struggles, is trying to make that an actual option and bring that to the table. And we've been dealing with that for at least 6 months now. Pretty hardcore looking into that.
Very, very cool. So you're doing a lot. You are in a lot of spaces creating cool stuff for people. What's the next big goal you have for the business?
I think the next big goal is we're launching Floxy 2.0 in about a month.
Wow.
And that's going to, we've been working on that for a while. It's taking all the feedback over the past 2 years because, like I said, I built the whole platform we're currently using by myself. So we did find a team. We have all that. So we've been working on a platform for about 6 months, taking feedback from people that have been using Floxy and putting that into it. So we're excited. And once we launch that, it has the ability to take and add on other services and finalize kind of what I was saying before, where we can add any service on. So like video editing, illustrative work, back-end coding, stuff like that. So I think that's the next big goal, is to add on more services. And with that, to also bring down the turnaround time. So when we launched, it was a 3-day turnaround time. Then a few months in, we brought it down to 2 days. And then a year into it, we brought it down to 24 hours. So my goal, and what I've seen lots of people want, is a quicker turnaround time. A day is pretty short, but some people need something within a few hours or something like that. So to bring down the turnaround time and add more services is our next big goal.
We'll be right back with Sam and Charles and going so much deeper into this conversation. Earlier in the episode, I mentioned that idea camps are coming in October of 2019. Well, we are so excited to be launching our first ever idea camps, and we want you to be part of them. Now, you may be wondering, well, what in the world is an idea camp? Idea camps are all about helping you create a roadmap to launching that idea and dream you've always wanted to create, but haven't quite gotten there yet. It's part summer camp, part mastermind, a little bit of conference with keynotes and breakout sessions, and overall, it's just a lot of fun. Over 3 days, we will help you discover how to make that impossible dream or idea, well, possible. At the end of the event, you will take home your very own roadmap to how you can make your idea a reality. We're opening up registration later this week, along with a giveaway for a free all-inclusive event ticket. So head over to jumblethink.com/ideacamps to learn more and sign up to keep up to date on the exciting things happening with Idea Camps. Again, head on over to jumblethink.com/ideacamps to learn more, sign up for newsletters to stay up to date, and to become part of our first ever Idea Camps. Now let's jump back into today's episode with Sam and Charles, the founders of Floxy. We are back with Sam and Charles. They're doing cool stuff with Floxy. Before we get rolling in the second segment and talk about some of these topics, let's let people know how they can find you and connect with you.
Awesome. Yep. So you can find us best right on our website at floxy.com. And that's about FLOCKSY.com. And one of the best ways is emailing us. We're very responsive with emails. We love to get back, answer any questions. You can also hit us up on chat. We have that open a lot. And we leave that open on purpose. So when you're like browsing the site and a question pops up, you just hit us up, get clarification, can keep going around looking at stuff. But the best way yet is to give us a call, actually. We're incredibly responsive. We all try to pick up, leave a message if we don't get back the same day. And we just love to walk you through the service, answer any questions, go over any concerns, stuff like that. Just a great, easy way there to jump back on the phone and actually get some clarification on stuff.
Very, very, very cool. You mentioned that you have kind of a special going on, that if they're listening to this podcast, they can connect with you.
Absolutely. If you're listening to this podcast and you sign up with us, use the discount code All Things Floxy. That's all lowercase and All Things Floxy. And just excited, we're going to offer 20% off your first month. If you're listening to this and you think it could be a good fit, give us a call, sign up. We'd love to give you that discount there and kick things off.
So good. All right. So I'm going to get the elephant out of the room. You guys are both from New England, from Boston, if I remember correctly, that area, Massachusetts. Is that right?
Yeah, New England. It was Stonington. My dad had a thick New England accent, if that's what you're talking about. Yeah, so all of us kids picked it up, and it was so basically we were near Boston. Well, it was like Stonington. It was in Connecticut, down by the ocean.
Cool. Very, very cool. And the elephant that I was going to get out of the room real quick was the fact that you got three brothers, right, working together to create something awesome. That's probably got some pretty cool dynamics. So talk to us about building truly a family business in a lot of ways, and how the strengths there are there, but there's also probably some some interesting moments.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you knew this, but it's the three brothers, but we come from a family of 10. So that
Wow.
us. So we had a lot of we had a strong bond growing up, and it was so we all got along pretty well. We still do, most of us, but like growing up, we'd have our own basketball teams and baseball teams, and if we were playing at school or whatever, we'd like all form together. It was pretty awesome. And so we were always close, and then, like I mentioned previously, I started working with my brother at Hatchwise, and we got along really well. So we took off with Floxy, George and I did. And then Chiros was finishing up college, and he was marketing, and we were like, we need somebody that knows how to do marketing and advertisement, stuff like that. So he came on board. So there's definitely issues that arise, but we kind of handle it in a way where we just kind of not yell, but we just say what we think, and we get it out of the way right away. And it we might have a day where we don't talk to each other, but everything's fine the next day. So that's kind of how we handle things.
And if I can add to that quickly, Charles here, I think one of the most interesting things and biggest benefit for us all together is growing up in a large family. We're extremely competitive. So we're always like trying to beat each other out, even now, and trying to always like do good and do better and like kind of strengthen each other because we have matured in that way. But it's definitely a good dynamic when we all like get together and we're like, okay, how can we do this together and make this work? And we all think alike, and we can all understand each other from our history and our background really well. And that's also a huge perk of knowing the other person so well and how they're trying to present their idea or what they're trying to do, which is super cool. That being said, though, there's also those times in the meeting afterwards when everyone's acting very official and correct, and then everyone leaves the room, and it's just the three of us sitting there. And all of a sudden, everyone goes back to being like 10 years old. And it's like, Sam, why did you do that earlier? So there's definitely that back and forth to that whole dynamic, which is awesome, and we love it too.
That's way cool. That's way, way, way cool. All right. So one of the cool things I love about your business is that you're building it on experience, but you're also learning along the way. Mm-hmm. And in that process of going, here's our known knowledge that we share collectively as a group and the people around us, you're also evolving and growing, trying and failing and trying and succeeding and evolving what you've built. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about bootstrapping the business and using experience as the driving force forward for innovation.
Okay, Sam, I'll take that. So basically, I remember launching the company, and we didn't have any money behind it, nothing. I threw up the website, and it was March 10th, 6 days before my birthday in 2016.
Wow.
I launched it, did a few Google ads, and we signed up somebody. And the pricing was different at that point, and the company was different, only graphic design. And I was so excited. I was like, somebody signed up. Wow. I put on Google AdWords. And then it just kept expanding, and more people signed up. And we playing around with like the pricing and people coming in and demanding stuff we don't offer was incredibly difficult in the beginning, streamlining it, because the platform was there, but we didn't have it where it's at now. So trying to manage all that was quite a learning experience. Like, somebody asks you to do this, you kind of want to say, well, do it, but then if you overpromise, it could be an issue. So we definitely had that happen. With bootstrapping, I did a lot of growth hacking. The Lean Startup is one of my favorite books, and I read that, and that kind of helped me launch Floxy.
Wow.
Basically, you just begin with a product that's basic, and you go from there. So I did growth hacking. I did the traditional ways, Google, Facebook, and stuff like that. But then I went on blogs, got blogs to write about me. We did an affiliate program, so when people signed up, they could recommend other people. And I think the biggest thing we found with bootstrapping is you want to treat the customers right. So even if you make less money off somebody, if they have a better experience, they're going to go tell people about it.
Yeah.
And if somebody tells me about a company, I'm going to go sign up. I'm going to be excited about it. So I think word of mouth is the most valuable thing you can get when you're bootstrapping a company. And that's where we're at today. We advertise a little bit, but it's mostly doing different ways of not with affiliates, or having in their account so they can send a link to a friend, or Facebook everybody and they get money back or they get a discount. Different ways of doing that, but that's definitely how we've been growing, is the whole word of mouth, treating customers right, and it kind of comes back to us.
Way cool. All right. So, there's this question that it spins in the minds of many startups. Should we go get money to support this, VC money, angel money, or should we bootstrap? Looking back on your experience, are you glad that you bootstrapped, or are you kind of wishing that you had that capital behind you? How did bootstrapping impact you in that journey?
Okay, Sam again. So I think I would definitely bootstrap. The reason is we're now getting funding and looking into that, and it definitely ties you down more. And if I would have got funding in the beginning, when I just had a viable product and an idea, then I would have had to pass things through other people before I could try them. So I did a lot of testing, especially in the beginning, where it was like, okay, so let's test this. And I would just test it one day. And when you have investors involved and stuff, and sales drop for a week because you're testing something, it's a totally different than when you're bootstrapping and you quickly revert it back and you figure out a new way. So I would highly suggest any company that's looking for investing or investments to definitely bootstrap it in the beginning. If it's a good enough idea, this is 90% of companies, but if it's a good enough idea, they should be able to make enough money to support their business and keep growing. And the only reason they should need money is to continue growing the product once they have an idea that people like. So that's my input.
And I would definitely agree with that. Charles here, intercepting, just because what we became, basically what Sam's saying, from what we thought we would be, was so drastically different long term that we wouldn't be us basically today if we hadn't done all those changes. And now we've actually had the platform in place. We know who we want to be. We know the long term vision. So now it's more a matter of how do we grow quickly and effectively more so.
One of the things I love with what you just said is where we are today isn't where we envisioned where we would be. We set out on kind of a different journey, and through customer feedback and through experience, you evolved the business. So many businesses are afraid to do that. They are like so stuck on their vision, their way, their dream, that they don't allow the dream to evolve and change. Tell us about the awareness, because it takes awareness to be able to make those pivots and changes and say, okay, there's something a little bit special here that we can add to our secret sauce that makes it even better. Tell us about that journey.
Okay, so that was a journey. So I am definitely somebody that thinks that my ideas are right and it's something that everybody should do.
Yeah.
And so it took me a little while to get used to people giving me feedback. And especially when I built the whole website up and I felt like it was my baby, and people would be like, well, this isn't that great of a feature. And I kind of like, I could feel my blood pressure rise, and I'd be like, okay, are you really telling me that? And it took me a while to be like, wait, if everybody doesn't think it's a good feature, and I do, I'm like a 1 out of 6 billion. So why would I stick on my own idea? So it did take me a while, but I guess the main point would be is to, if your customers are telling you something, listen. It doesn't matter if it's something that you took 2 years to develop. That's your problem that you took that long. It's your problem you didn't get feedback maybe along the way. But if nobody's signing up to something, if you worked hard on something, it doesn't mean that's a good idea just because you spend time on it. You need people using it, enjoying it, and people are very open. So that's something else I had to learn is you do have to ask your customers what they think.
Yeah.
90% don't, and the 10% that don't tell you what they think, and the 10% that do, it's all negative stuff. So you do want like that positive feedback too. Like, I like this, but I'd rather have this. So we began sending emails out to people, calling people, when they called us, saying, so what's your experience with the platform? What would you like changed on it? And then taking all that down and kind of like sorting it by, okay, what do people want the most and what do they want the least? So yeah.
Okay, so I love that, and detaching your emotions from something that is something you've created is very hard to do, but getting that perspective where you can remove the emotion and look at it from the standpoint of, well, if my customers don't like it and I love it, but I don't get any customers because I love it and no one else does, doesn't really help grow a business.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you process that? Where you, as brothers, went, we've got to pull back our emotion and what we're creating, and go, we love our ideas, we love the concepts we've created, and especially for you, Sam, that process of being very hands-on in the development of what the platform is. How did you go from like that? It's hard. I as a creative myself and creator, it's hard to have that challenge of maybe things aren't as the way that I want or expect. So how did you deal with those emotions and get to the point where you could say, I can see the perspective, I can see why this is important, and now I've got to evolve?
I'll begin. I think the main thing would be empathy. You kind of have to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else. It's easy to be like, okay, I did this, this is how I feel. But you have to say, what if I was that person? What if I was using a service? Maybe this amount of money doesn't seem like a lot of money to me, but what if I was a struggling company and signed up and I was super excited and didn't know how to use the platform? Would I be upset? Yes. So it's kind of taking it and saying, what if I was in their circumstances? And that was a process. It took a lot of me, like, again and again, being like, okay, this is me feeling this, but I'll feel this. I'll also put myself in somebody else's shoes and feel what they feel, and then kind of compare the two and say, maybe it's just me. But in some cases, it would be where I'd use empathy or whatever and put myself in somebody else's shoes. And I'd be like, well, maybe they just don't need this service, or maybe they're trying to get a refund or something. And I also see that. So it kind of helps both ways to see what's valuable and what's not by putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and kind of looking through their eyes at everything, the amount of money they're paying, what they were expecting, what your website says, what when they sign up they see, all that type of stuff.
And Charles here, adding to that, I completely agree with everything Sam said. I think empathy is very important in terms of that. I also think we were very fortunate, the three of us, in that we had the same alignment in terms of that. And one of the things we strove together and we actually clarified is that we always wanted to be open to change as a company moving forward. We never wanted to get stuck in a rut, especially being the very technology sector, that we don't ever want to be like, oh, this is a great idea, let's keep doing it. We need to split test. We need to try new ideas. And that was helpful in itself to us keeping the vision in place and keeping us going forward and seeing that. The other interesting thing, which we tried some implemented within the system, as we mentioned before, about not being set on one idea, is with customers, and often with web pages is a perfect example.
Yeah.
They'll request a web page and they'll give detailed instructions on how they want it. And the designers just won't like it because they've designed hundreds and thousands of web pages. And they'll say, you know what, I did what they wanted, but here's a version that I would suggest. And they'll do a completely different version that they would recommend with the same content.
Yeah, yeah.
And the interesting part is 9 out of 10 times, the clients love the bonus version. They love the other take on it.
Yeah.
And they often realize that just because they had this great idea, it doesn't mean it always turns out in that light. And that's something we've been able to share with clients ourselves.
And just quickly going into what I was saying before, what I did to kind of realize that my opinion isn't the only opinion out there is I have changed my mind for the past 20 some years, and it's constantly been evolving.
Yeah.
And when I think at any time, oh, I have to be right, this is the way to go, I'm like, in 5 years, will I think the same thing? Probably not. So I probably should be looking through other people's eyes. That's just one method of me dealing with that type of stuff.
So I love that you're open to those things, but listening to you share, one of the superpowers that I think that Floxy has is the fact that it's not just Sam, it's not just Charles, it's not just one brother trying to do this on your own, but you have the collaboration of working together. A lot of entrepreneurs don't get that. Maybe if they're in a startup and it's a funded startup and they have a team, or they maybe have one partner. But typically the entrepreneurs that I've talked to at the small business level or even in the startup level, they're trying to do this on their own in the early stages. So for you, that power of being brothers, but also having the sounding board of each other and holding each other accountable, that must be super powerful.
Absolutely. So one of my, I think, things that I am still working on is I get not worked up at the moment, but I'll definitely get passionate about something. I just want to go ahead. And George is way more sensible, and he does a lot of the legal stuff and all the design stuff, and he's more factual based. So I'll be like, this is a great idea, let's do it. Or, hey, we don't have as many signups as I want. And it's good as sounding board coming off him, and he'll be like, well, just wait. Let's wait and see what happens, or give some stats based, why are you thinking this, and kind of do that. Charles, the same way. It's nice having somebody that, he's way more focused on, day-to-day operations, and he knows how to, okay, this is a big deal and this isn't, breaking down things. So I might have this grand plan for, let's make Floxy do this in 4 months. And he'll be like, that's not feasible with what we're doing currently.
Right.
Let's make that 6 months or something.
Yeah.
So definitely right about that. I couldn't run Floxy by myself. So it's definitely a good thing.
I love that. Now, one of the things that is happening in our in the web and graphic design spaces, we're seeing more companies that are doing on-demand services or web-based applications where you hire somebody who does what you do, and so the space is becoming more and more competitive. Yet I think that you guys really do stand out. Tell us a little bit about how you're thinking from the standpoint of not just your customers, not just the platform you're building, but also how you differentiate or stand out against the competition that is making the space a little bit more noisy.
Okay, Sam, I'll take that. So I think one of the main things that we do is we focus. What I've been trying to focus on with Floxy since the beginning is the fast and reliable turnaround times. A lot of companies out there, they do the same thing. They assign you somebody. They basically everything we do, but because we have a whole team that can actually work on a project, we can meet deadlines, which a lot of companies can't if the team member's sick or they have to transfer the assets to another designer because somebody left the company. You don't see any of those hiccups. So with us, it's you sign up and you just, as soon as you start a project, you see that countdown. It's a 24-hour countdown and wow, I'm going to get a design within 24 hours. Internally, it could be different. We could assign that project to one designer. That designer might get back and the design might be awful or not following the brand. or anything. So that project manager will quickly assign another designer. There's a lot that happens in between that 24 hours, but all they see is they put in what they want and boom, they get something out. So I think that's one of the main things, that the fact we do have those turnaround times, we are reliable no matter what. Not saying other companies are not reliable, but with our system, we have made it so we do meet most deadlines and stuff.
And just to add to that, Charles here, from taking a lot of sales calls and talking to clients and trying to understand them better, I think one of the interesting parts of it is a lot of clients, potential clients, are almost like skeptical about us. Like they think we're out there to take their first month and it's too believable to be true,
Right.
and we don't value their business or want a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's actually the complete different opposite of that is what we go for. So one of the things we strive for is a long-term relationship with clients. And the idea is we want to grow your business, maintain your business, and make it go to the next level. You grow with us. And that's kind of our thinking. And it's everything in place we have, the quality, the turnaround times, the consistency is set up for a long-term relationship. And I think that's one of the things in a way that we really are different from our competition and people out there in that area, is because we are always looking for that in regards to everything that we add and what we do in that way.
Yeah, and to go on that, from talking to people and stuff and looking at the stats, we've had a huge percentage of people use us for a few months, think, okay, you're not the greatest option, leave, and then sign right back up like 6 months later.
Wow.
And when we ask them why, they're like, well, we tried out other services and it's, you guys seem to be the most reliable over time. And that's following what Charles was saying. It's nice to, we don't want that first month's payment. We want a long-term relationship. So we may be slower in the beginning because we have that 24-hour turnaround time, and other companies may like do it quicker during the first month, but we're reliable no matter what. And we're upfront about what we do and the turnaround times and stuff like that. So that we strive to be totally upfront, honest, and tell you what you get.
And I mean, just being honest, just because something's quick doesn't mean it's good. So sometimes
Exactly.
waiting that extra day goes from okay, that's good, to wow. And that's what we need to be creating, is more content, whether it's a website, whether it's print collateral, whatever you're creating. We need more wow and less it's okay, it's good enough, and so many people are settling for good enough when they could be getting great if they weren't in such a rush.
Exactly. And early on the podcast, I was saying when I began Floxy, one of the challenges I had working at Hatchwise was hiring somebody, and in the beginning they're amazing, and then they kind of go downhill.
Yeah.
And I do see that's a problem with a lot of companies that offer similar services and stuff, because they do stick you with one person who has a bunch of clients. And we have seen how clients can get say, I need this. So people that maybe aren't like pestering away, they get that does not in the beginning, they get fast, and that kind of slows down. And after a month or two, it's like you're getting every 4 days instead of every 1 day. And because of the system, we treat everybody equally. So you get your design in 24 hours and you do. And no matter how much you're telling us, I mean, if somebody needs it, we'll definitely work and up it in the queue. But it is a system. So we do try to make sure everybody's equal. Everybody gets what they paid for.
And I deal with this as a web developer myself, and owning an agency for several years, is that just because of the struggles of client work sometimes is interesting. Just because they're in a rush now after waiting 6 months to get me the content doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to move in 2 minutes because they're ready to move. And so that expectation has to go both ways, where if they're wanting you to give them something, they also have to put in their side of things and be prepared to get you what you need so that you can create the assets they need.
Exactly. And that's one of the problems we do have, is where somebody takes 4 days to get something back, and we responded within 4 minutes in their account asking for it. And then they say, oh, this project took 4 days, or 5 days, because we get back to them within 24 hours. And we're like, no, it didn't. We respond like within 10 minutes if we have questions. If it takes a long time, we can't help it. And we send reminder emails and everything. But sometimes it is up to the client to get back to you.
Completely. All right. So before we pivot out of this segment, I'm curious. you've been doing this for a while, and not every entrepreneur knows what it is to do a true startup. Entrepreneurship is awesome because it can look like the individual. They could go start a business and it's a known model. They can go replicate it and they can go do it. You guys were innovating in a new space. Looking back, what's maybe one thing that you wish you would know back then that you know now that would have set you up for whether it's faster growth or more success or just a easier path forward that you wish you knew back then?
Okay, I'll take this first. I think one of the big things that challenges for me was pivoting from a web developer, because I went to school, my minor was in business, but I mainly focused on development, and pivoting from that into a management position, because I went from beginning Floxy 2.5 years ago to being CEO and managing a bunch of people and doing that. So I wish I probably would have focused on business and managing a little bit more, because I do see hiccups along the ways of how I could have dealt with things better and stuff like that. It's still a learning. I'm learning and everything, but that is one of the things I kind of wish I would have known or focused on in the beginning besides just development.
And Charles here. Mike, I really think it's kind of along the same lines for me. One of the more interesting things I found coming on board with Floxy in the real early stages was that in school I learned marketing more at a corporate level. So coming on, we used from growth hacking from the ground up, and it was the complete opposite of what I learned in college. Different aspects.
Right.
I was able to carry over. But it kind of felt was a struggle at first, because a large part of it was giving up that degree at first. And it was really interesting because I read books, I had to actually listen to podcasts. I really tried to educate myself on what is the basics. I had to go back to what I learned in the basics of it and apply those basics to what we did to get where we're at today. And that was really interesting to take that and just give up a large part of what you learned on a corporate level and be like, that doesn't apply here. You need to do more of this, you need to do more of that. And I think that was a challenge at first. And I'm really glad that I went that route and was actually able to overcome that.
And I completely agree, because when I was studying business and taking business classes in college, it does not prepare you for starting a company. It prepares you for going into a medium or large size business. Most colleges, but it doesn't prepare you for that. You have to jump in and you are doing everything from coding to designing to talking to customers. You're not just filling in reports and giving them to a manager. So it's a totally different experience when you actually start the company. And the best thing I can recommend doing is, as Charles said, focus on reading books and podcasts and just do something. Begin a company, just begin whatever you want and make mistakes and stuff like that.
So good. Tell us a little bit about your ideal customer. If somebody's listening and they're saying, hey, this sounds pretty cool, I want to check out the service. Tell them that who are you looking for? What are the ideal customers? Tell them about that.
Okay, so the ideal customer would be somebody that needs ongoing graphic design, web development, and copywriting. It's not somebody that's just looking to get a ton of work done, even though you can cancel at any point. There are no contracts, but it's a relationship. You're joining a company. We do have the fast turnaround times and stuff like that, but we do get to know your brand. The first few projects, it might be not quite what you're looking for, but we get to know that. And so it's somebody that's looking for an ongoing relationship. Could be a medium-sized business, a startup, a large corporate business. Somebody that needs that constant support. I need a website developed, so we develop it for them. We need some banner ads. We need a blog post written. Just that ongoing support from different teams.
Remind people how they can find and connect with you.
Absolutely. So the best way is definitely visit our website. We're very straightforward on that. That's floxy.com. And we have different pages for each of the services. We provide breakdowns of them, examples. We try to explain it as much and thoroughly as possible about it. Definitely just feel free to give us a call to any time. The number is 929-356-5659. And that's just cell there. I might even pick up. I still take sales calls from that. So just reach out to us, email us. We're very responsive. Love to hear your questions. Just definitely cover all that. And also the discount, as I mentioned before, just sign up. It applies to any plan. And the discount code is all things Floxy. And hope that you try that out.
So good. We'll be right back with Sam and Charles for the rapid fire questions. Today's episode is being sponsored by our friends over at OpportunityInChina.com. Here's a little bit more about what they are doing. Have you been looking for a way to change your career or social prospect? Do you see the world around you changing and haven't quite figured out what path you should take? Well, you are not alone in seeking opportunity. Visit OpportunityInChina.com for access to scholarships to attend university in China. Or if you have a bachelor's degree already, OpportunityInChina.com provides access to jobs in the educational sector all across China. Now, working in China is not only often well paid, but it will place you among 1/5 of the world's population, boosting your social network, bringing you more deeply into the story of globalization, and opening doors you never knew existed. So seize your opportunity now. Visit their website for more information at OpportunityInChina.com. By the way, they have a great podcast. Search for Opportunity in China podcast wherever you like to listen to your podcast. Now let's jump into our rapid fire questions with Sam and Charles Ryans, founders of Floxy. We are back with Sam and Charles, and we're doing rapid fire questions. Are you guys ready for rapid fire questions?
I hope so.
Yes, we are.
All right, the first question is, what is one tip you'd give someone with a big idea or dream and they don't know where to start?
Okay, I'll take this since I think the biggest thing you can do is just start small. Begin with anything. Throw up a website, use Wix, use Squarespace, anything. Just get that idea out there and ask your friends about it, pay on Reddit to advertise it, get some feedback and know if it's good, and make as many mistakes as you can. The more mistakes you make, the quicker you learn, and I think that's the best thing you can do.
Now, what is one change you would like to see in the world?
Okay, I'll cover this one. Charles here. So without going too deep, and I guess this really applies to like my marketing background, is one of the things that's always bugged me in marketing is how people have a very negative take on marketing. Like it switches on in the channel. You're like, oh, let me change to something else. Like that's your first reaction. And I really think that's kind of a mistake because basically at the concept core of all marketing is you're just trying to present your idea or concept that could help another business out. And as I mentioned earlier, I really love how we're able to help other businesses out. So for me, marketing is just presenting that idea and making awareness, basically creating that awareness for them. So that's something that I think would be really cool to see changed in the world, where we move more away from marketing and more into creating awareness just. And like, this is options or better sites to offer different options along those lines.
Now, what do you want your legacy to be?
So I think my legacy I would want to be remembered for using technology to help people. And more specifically, as I grow, mature, and Floxy grows, to help people in different countries and stuff. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I still don't know that I wish I could be helping people that are in third world countries and need stuff. So I definitely would want that to be through technology help them.
Now, where do you find inspiration?
Charles here. So really, I've always had this view on life, or more so in the last couple of years, and that we're really our own business at the core of us. And each of us present something different and bring it to the table. But you also have to be bettering yourself, basically, and bringing yourself forward. So what I find inspiration, especially with Floxy, is in learning new stuff. So I'm always eager to learn. We're like, oh, let's add on this service. Let's do this. I immerse myself in it. I learn it. I jump on board. And it's super cool to add something more to your portfolio that you know, that you learn, that makes you more valuable as a person, as a human being to society, and along everything right there.
Okay, so maybe both of you should answer the next question because I'm sure the answer is vastly different for both of you. Maybe it's not. But what is one book you think every dreamer or entrepreneur should read and why?
Okay, so hands down, Lean Startup. I cannot stress this enough. It's by Eric Ries. It's called Lean Startup. And if you have an idea, if you have a fully grown business that you want to launch off a different product, anything, read this book. It'll take a day to read, and it has more advice in it than it has tons of advice.
And for me, that would be The Growth Hacker Marketing by Ryan Holiday. And the reason that was one of the first books that I read after leaving college and moving on with Floxy. And that was really interesting just because they present all the different ideas that you think, oh, already knew that, but you didn't know that, you didn't apply it, you didn't do things. And it's just a really interesting take on from the ground up. And anyone starting out should read that. It's a quick, easy read. You can probably read it in under 2 hours if you're a quick reader. And it's just a great way to get a hands-on approach to it.
What is one trend you are currently excited about?
AI. Absolutely. I know people talk about it in a negative way a lot, but I want to implement that in Floxy more so than what we've been doing, and I'm super excited about it.
What is one habit you find helpful in your life as an entrepreneur?
Okay, this one's actually kind of interesting, I guess. So I love making mistakes. I think if you don't make mistakes, you don't really go forward in life. Like, there's no perfect path. There's nothing. And I am so forgiving in the company of anyone making mistakes, as long as they learn from it and they were doing it for a good reason and they want to move on from it. Because like, that's what it's all about, is like learning new things, and you're going to make mistakes doing it. Be prepared to make those mistakes. And it's okay to make them. Just learn from them and move on.
Okay, so the next question, I'm going to split into two. One of you answer the first part and one of you answer the second part. So how do you start your day and how does the other finish your day?
Okay, Charles here. I'll answer how you start your day. So for me, and this is kind of typical, maybe even cliche a little bit, but I really like making my bed in the morning.
Okay.
I feel like it's one little thing that just starts off my day in the right direction, and it's one orderly thing. I do have a mild case of OCD. So it's nice to like have my room in order. You wake up, you get that part done, and then you're ready for the day and you're willing to take it on.
Yeah, and for me, finishing up my day is a mix of making a list of what I want to do, and I kind of like meditate a tiny bit and then write down the next thing I want to do. And then when I'm done with that, I like playing Call of Duty, and I play that for about half an hour and get all my stress out, and then I go to bed.
All right, if you weren't doing what you're doing today, what do you think you guys would be doing?
That's so a few years back, like leaving college, I probably would have said I'd just be doing like a typical corporate job, probably somewhere. Now, after being so involved in this and the startup and from the ground up, I don't think I could ever see myself in that role, like as far as like not positioning myself in that role from the ground up. So I really enjoy like everything from making my own schedule to actually to do things and seeing the output of those things actually and the reward of doing it, which is just incredibly cool for me.
All right, final rapid fire question. One of my favorite questions to ask is, what is one dream you are still wanting to fulfill in your own life?
Okay, so I'll take that. So when I was young, I wanted to be an astronaut. So did everybody. And then I got older and I still did. And then I realized how difficult it was to be an astronaut. And I thought, wow, it should be a lot easier just to make enough money to make a space rocket and go to space. So my goal is to go to space and go to the moon at some point.
And I'll just add in here quickly, too, to answer that question as well, Charles here. One of the interesting goals, which I have not had time to yet explore, and I really want to, it's been about 4 years now I've had this like strong desire to do it. I really want to get my pilot's license and learn how to fly a helicopter. Yeah. And that's always been like a strong desire of mine. Maybe I think it'd just be super cool. I'm not really sure, but definitely on my bucket list of things to do.
Very, very cool. As we wrap up today's episode, we always like to leave our guests have a final thought for us. So what's your final thought for us today?
I would say that no matter who you are, what you're doing, if you're passionate about it, focus on it. Mm-hmm. I think one of my biggest issues is learning I get distracted by a billion different things, who knows what. But if you focus on what your main goal is, you can get it done. No matter what it is, just focus on it and it'll get done.
And to add to that real quickly, because the thing goes hand in hand, is definitely just start. There's no perfect starts. Just start somewhere. Like when you have that idea, do something, throw up a website, do something that puts it out there that says, is this actually starting? I've seen even our team members too much where they just don't start. Absolutely, just start.
Love that. Thank you so much, both of you, Sam and Charles, for being on, sharing the story of Floxy, giving us some insights into bootstrapping a startup and doing really, really cool stuff. So thanks for taking time out and being with us today.
Thank you for having us. I enjoyed this a lot.
Yes, thank you, Mike.
Once again, we want to thank Sam and Charles Ryans, founders of Floxy, for taking time out to be with us on the podcast today. You can learn more about them in the episode notes. We also want to thank our sponsors, Opportunity in China, for sponsoring the podcast today. You can find them at opportunityinchina.com. Thanks for tuning in. We want to encourage you. The world needs you now to step up to the created purpose in which you were created to live. So get out there, chase those dreams, chase those ideas, and change the world around you.
Les mères de famille, les enfants, peuvent également prendre un moment revitalisant dans quelques mois, lorsque vous aurez bien saisi la technique et que vous serez maître de votre corps. Vous pourrez vous décontracter même en travaillant.